Hey guys, today is Friday, December 4th. The time is 8 p.m. and the temperature outside is 3 degrees Celsius. I'm here at Osgoode Station in downtown Toronto. And the plan for this one is to head on up to Queen Street West, where I'll head west over to Bathurst Street, and then I'll go south for a few blocks down to King Street West. And then I'll walk east along King Street West. There's a look north, up University Avenue.
No problem.
And there's the Campbell House Museum. Normally at this hour on a Friday night, both Queen and King Street West would be particularly busy. But given that we are in the midst of what the province is calling a lockdown, and that all the retail shops aren't open to in-store customers, and bars, restaurants, and cafes are limited to takeout only, so they can't even serve customers outdoors anymore, I'd imagine this area will be a lot less busy than it would normally be. But since we entered the lockdown phase, I haven't actually recorded any night walks through this area. So this area of Queen Street West in particular is known for its shopping and, to a lesser degree, nightlife. Most of the nightlife is just to the south of here on King Street, but there's still a fair number of bars and other establishments that people frequent on weekend nights, such as the Rivoli and Horseshoe Tavern, which I'll be walking by shortly. This is the north side of Queen Street West. And this place in particular, the Queen Mother Cafe, has some rather good Thai food. And there's Ginger. It's a very popular Vietnamese restaurant. They have a number of locations around downtown. And a look south at the CN Tower. This is McCall Street, and the Ontario College of Art and Design is just to the north there, but maybe I'll cross over to the south side of the street and we'll check out the Christmas tree at the former Chum City building, which is now the home of Bell Media.
बेसमेंट को ऊपर कोई भी चलता ना सारी आवाज आती है पूरे ये बंदा किधर होगा खरीद
There's not too many very public displays of holiday decorations in the city this year. There's the warehouse, a rather inexpensive place to grab finger foods and small portion meals, and of course some drinks. And there is the Christmas tree. And that could just be the nicest one in the city this year. It's certainly kind of eerie to imagine that this is 8 p.m. on a Friday night and it's not particularly cold or freezing. But even if it were, there would still normally be an awful lot more people than this out. And this is John Street. So just to the south of here is where all the nightlife used to be in the city.
As long as I don't press it on, they can like actually tell for me. That's right. Like,
Someone's singing to themselves across the street. Hubert? I have no idea what that is over there.
I folded everything.
There seems to be a lot more vacant retail than normal on Queen Street West. And just on the other side of this Hummer is a rather new addition to the neighborhood.
For the crab to carry it, rheumatoid arthritis to carry it, but
And where that LCBO is now used to be a Carl's Jr. for a brief period of time when they expanded into Canada. And I've mentioned it on my live streams, but I was there one day for lunch as I used to work in the financial district around the corner, and I saw Mike Bullard, who seemed to be a regular there. He's a comedian and former talk show host who used to be quite well known in Canada, but at some point he just completely fell off the map. And here's the Black Bull, one of the longest standing pubs in the city. It might even be the oldest pub. And they have a very extensive outdoor patio. And this is the kind of night where if a place like that just had a few heat lamps, I think they'd have no troubles at all having some customers out. And there's Mountain Equipment Co-op. This used to be located a few blocks to the south on King Street. And there's a former Gap, although I don't believe that location is a victim of COVID, or rather, the government's restrictions. They're really the reason why businesses are suffering so much. And just up ahead is the Rivoli. That's a restaurant and bar with a small music venue / comedy club in the back. And on the second floor, there's a pool hall. And it looks to be a new development going in next door. That'll be neat to see how that plays out. And for as long as I've been coming to Queen Street, I remember seeing Steve's Music Store, and it really doesn't look any different at all. It's been that way for seemingly decades now. This is probably the city's most famous area for outdoor retail shopping. There's the Horseshoe Tavern, a very popular live music venue. And this here is Queen and Spadina, so just to the north of here is Chinatown. I recorded a walk earlier in the week that started at the foot of Spadina and went all the way north to Bloor Street West, where you'll find Spadina Station. You can look for that on the channel if you're interested. And I'm just going to stick to the north side of Queen Street, at least for the next few blocks. And there's a training car. Looks like there's several staff members at the front of that car. They gotta learn sometime. I guess that's kind of like when you get your learner's permit and you take the car out onto the real streets. And that's probably the city's most notorious McDonald's. Every time I do a live stream, there's always people asking me to pop in there. Certainly always an interesting time to be had at that location, especially on a weekend night.
I'll go there, sir.
Sorry. Unfortunately, I am not carrying any change. It's nice of this car just to hover over the marked crossing.
Where are all my cars?
And that's an entrance into Graffiti Alley just across the street. It's a very interesting laneway that runs between Spadina and Portland, parallel to Queen Street. And as strange as this part of Queen Street feels, I imagine King Street West, which I'm approaching, or I'll probably be there in about 5 minutes or so. That's when I get to Bathurst. I'll head south. Is going to look even more depressing. There's a lot less retail there. It's more restaurants and bars and some clubs. You'd have to imagine that Friday and Saturday nights would be the real money maker for a lot of those places. I think this used to be a KFC. It's kind of weird to see it all closed like that. And I probably guesstimated that wrong. I imagine it'll be a little more than 5 minutes to King Street West. I was thinking the next major street up ahead was Bathurst, but it is Portland. And despite being one of the more popular neighborhoods in the city, there isn't a whole lot of high density housing in this area to support these businesses. I think you'll find most of the people out here on a weekend night are from other parts of the city. And I think that makes it even harder for a lot of these local places to get by. There's Loblaws and a Winners. Loblaws is fully open. And just on the right is the Velvet Underground. That's a popular music venue that's been an institution in the city for quite a while. So just up ahead would be Bathurst Street, and on the other side of the intersection is where the West Queen West neighborhood begins, and that'll run west along Queen Street to Dufferin Street, and then you'll find yourself in the Parkdale and Little Tibet neighborhoods. And perhaps on next Friday or Saturday night, I'll come do a walk through Parkdale and West Queen West. There's the 511 Bathurst. That would normally be a streetcar, but due to construction work on Bathurst, they're running buses. And now it's south along the east side of Bathurst Street. Those mean boughs have certainly popped up everywhere over the last few years. This would be Richmond Street West, which is a one-way street. It's a whole row of older homes here that look like they're slated for redevelopment. And there's someone kind of walking around the site there. Here's the notice. Looks like it'll be a mixed-use residential building with commercial on the ground floor. This part of Bathurst isn't particularly well lit, as you can probably tell. But the next street is Adelaide, and then after that will be King Street West, and that will be the heart of what is normally the city's most prominent nightlife area. And after I record this walk, I will be doing my Friday night stream. I think I've settled that Friday night will be a regular night to stream. I've been kind of doing it randomly, and I will still continue to do it randomly. Let's make sure this cab doesn't try to turn in front of me. There's a look down Adelaide. The last time I streamed on a Friday night, which was last Friday, somehow it hit over 2,000 concurrent viewers, which was a record for me, and I haven't broken that since. There's Northern Maverick It's a local craft brewer, and you can go in there and buy beer from the retail store. So that's one way to support these local businesses. And a lot of the craft brewers in the city do offer delivery, and some of them offer free delivery with certain minimum orders. And this is King and Bathurst, and over there on the corner is the Wheat Chief, which advertises itself as Toronto's oldest pub. It was closed for the longest time, only to reopen just as the pandemic was setting in. So I'm sure those owners are taking a pretty tough bath on it. Normally this place would be quite the scene on a Friday night. And this is King Street West I'm now heading east on. You'd often find partygoers all over the sidewalk in this area. It might even be a bit too early for the biggest crowds. They probably come out closer to 10 or 11, but there would still definitely be a lively scene at this time. I don't come here to hang out too often myself, so I'm not too familiar with all the names of the different establishments. I had recorded this particular stretch of King Street a number of times throughout the pandemic. And this is easily the most dead that I've seen it yet. There's Verst. That's kind of a really neat place to grab a drink and a sausage or a snack. I kind of like their giant pretzels. And there's an artisanal bakery. I think that's how the cool kids would describe it. Fortuna Cultura. And here is Lee Restaurant, owned by Susur Lee, famous for the Singapore slaw, I think they call it. All these rather neat outdoor spaces are now useless. And here's a place that opened up just as the pandemic was starting, Ruby Soho, and it'll be interesting to see if they're able to survive. So this is Portland Street I just crossed. And a lot of these places like the Burgers Priest and Pizza Nova and Big Smoke Burger are certainly dependent on the crowd pouring in from bars on a night like this. Tut's Egyptian street food. I have never seen Egyptian street food before. That's interesting. That's for your eyes only, a gentleman's club. And there's the keg. That was, I think, one of the last places I dined out at before dining out was banished. I ate out at the keg on the Esplanade. There's so little traffic, I'm just gonna cross over. Wilbur Mexicana. There's Belfast Love. And it's Branch Street.
Take your ego shovel.
So just up ahead here will be the traditional entertainment district. And it's every YouTuber's worst nightmare. Loud Christmas music being blasted. Hopefully the copyright gods don't pick that up. If not, I'll be editing this part out. And the next street is Spadina. So I'm walking in the opposite direction along King that I was on Queen a little bit before this. And this new building going up is blocking what used to be a great shot of the CN Tower. So in a few blocks, I'll be heading past Restaurant Row, or what's left of it. And there'll be a few large theaters there, as well as Roy Thompson Hall. That guy was rather considerate, walking with his elbows flying out all the way to the left of the sidewalk, not moving out of the way. Gotta love considerate people like that. There's the old Mountain Equipment Co-op. And this building here used to be a Holiday Inn. Now it's a Hyatt. Kind of have to wonder how they pulled that one off. This is Peter Street right here. Or rather, to the north of King, it's Peter, and to the south, it's Blue Jays Way. And just at the south end of the street there is the Toronto Sky Dome. The Sky Dome is rumored to be under redevelopment. We'll have to see how that plays out. And I remember probably about a decade ago when this was a Holiday Inn, just on the corner here there was a comedy club. I remember seeing a few shows in there. I used to like going to comedy clubs. There is one in my neighborhood called Absolute Comedy. That's pretty good. I usually make a few trips there every year, but haven't been able to this year. I think being a stand-up comedian, for the most part, is a rather difficult existence. So I'm sure most of them have sought other kinds of work during this. And this is what's left of Restaurant Row. And there's the Tiff Bell Lightbox on the other side, named after the Toronto International Film Festival. And I think it's every September they hold the film festival along this part of King Street. I remember recording a video through there a few years ago. There's a look south down John Street. And to the north on John Street are a number of bars and restaurants and more places you'd normally find to be quite busy at this time. There's the Princess of Wales Theatre.
So I have these couple of plastic bags in my hand.
And if I'm not mistaken, the theater itself was originally configured for the production Miss Saigon. and it later hosted The Lion King. I'm not a theater buff, I might be completely wrong on that. And that Roxy on King, which is a pool hall, used to be, I think, a Dunn's, which was a Montreal smoked meat restaurant. That's one of those foods that's really delicious, but we don't seem to have a whole lot of. There's a very large condo proposal that's supposed to go on this block and incorporate the theater. I'm not sure what the status of that is, but I think all these buildings will be vacated at some point. This one looks like it already is. And there's Roy Thompson Hall, home to the Toronto Symphony. And the Royal Alex Theatre. And I am walking over the Canada Walk of Fame right now. A lot of Canadian celebrities are noted here. I'm sure somewhere Alex Trebek has a square. Somebody's really cool. I didn't quite catch it. I was hoping to catch the streetcar streaming in front of this nice view of Roy Thompson Hall and the tower. That might have been a thumbnail-worthy shot. And on the corner here of University and King is St. Andrew subway station. So this is actually just one stop south of where I started at Osgoode Station. But I think what I'll do is I'll head down to Union Station to start my live stream, so I might as well keep the camera rolling as I head down that way. So the area I'm walking into right now is the financial district. That's one of the neat things about downtown Toronto is there's so many interesting neighborhoods that are all connected and within walking distance from one another. There's really not too many cities in North America like it. Obviously, New York would be the best example of that kind of city, but I can't really think of another city that rivals this one in that sense. Certainly outside of North America there are. There's an Earl's that's popular amongst the after-work crowd. All right, I'm just gonna head south on York Street here. Whenever you see a lot of vans and trucks like this on the downtown street, it's quite often that they're filming a movie shoot. Although these ones might be related to that construction, I don't really know. Oh, there's some nice Christmas trees in the TD Centre Courtyard. Maybe when I do my live stream, I'll veer up here and take a peek. I've talked a lot about the historical significance of this office complex in previous videos. And I'm not sure if the camera is doing this justice, but it is rather spectacular looking. You know what? Rather than head down to Union Station, I think I will finish here. I'd like to start the live stream from this spot. And we have the CN Tower over there. So on that note, I'd like to thank you for watching this walk along what would normally be one of the busiest spots downtown on a Friday night, along Queen Street and King Street West. There are links to my Instagram and Patreon accounts if you wish to support the channel in the description, and you just might see a picture of these trees pop up on Instagram shortly. Also, you can check out YouTube channel memberships on the main page if you'd like to support the channel that way. All right, guys, thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.